Right. Decided to do a video because there's a concept I keep seeing coming across in League of Legends that I think needs to be addressed. And that concept is the concept of counter creep. And I'm going to explain counter creep here really quickly. I'm going to try and make this video as short as possible because otherwise you're going to keep seeing me flip my hair, and that's something nobody wants to see. Got a background here because I thought just seeing me might be a little bit boring. But here's a general thing. Counter creep. This is happening in League right now. Counter creep is, let me put an example towards you. You're playing World of Warcraft or RPGX or really anything. And range and melee is perfectly in tune. They're both perfectly viable options. They're both, everything is good about them. Now, you can get an item, let's call it you can put gloves on or a chest, anything. This item reduces the amount of range damage you take by half, or 10%, really anything. Now, range damage went from perfectly balanced, perfectly viable, to all of a sudden now, you can't use range damage because there's this item out there that counters it perfectly. And so what happens? Range damage now needs to be buffed to be overpowered to fight it because it's being countered. What does that mean to you? That means that range is now overpowered. And the problem is, it's now overpowered but needs to be countered. Because you created a counter, it needs to be overpowered to fight that counter. Okay? So you didn't balance the game out, you just made it more difficult. Now let's say, after you buff range, oops, you buffed it a little too much, so now you add another item that counters range, okay? Now you're adding counters to counters to counters. And you're not balancing your game, you're making it further and further unbalanced by adding band-aids to it. If range was really overpowered, if range was really balanced, it wouldn't need a counter to it, okay? Now, flashback to League of Legends, what's happening right now. Health is overpowered, so what do? They add 1% health damage. What does this mean? Health needs to be overpowered to fight health damage. What's the problem? Health damage came first. Health damage was in the game. Health damage was making stacking health worthless. And, it needed health to be overpowered to fight it. Health needs to be overpowered because you added so much health damage. So now, what are they trying to do? Now they're saying, oh, well, health is overpowered because we added health damage, so health needed to be overpowered, so let's add more health damage and let's buff health damage. That'll balance out health. It's so insane to me that it's like I'm taking crazy pills and I'm the only one to disease this. You don't balance something by making it, it just sounds so crazy in concept that I can't even imagine that there are people who think this is a good idea. But let me put forward to you another example here. If any of you ever played Magic, what happened when Magic was new? It was a new game. You had creatures and you had spells. Spells were a lot more powerful than creatures. In addition, they kept adding new and new spells, newer and newer spells that kept countering creeps. Things like Doom Seal, Seal of Doom, Wrath of God, all this crap. And so what happened? Well, creatures now needed to be overpowered to fight the fact that they were getting countered. You compare creatures now to where they were then, spells are still relatively the same. Every time Lightning Bolt comes back into standard, people are like, holy crap, Lightning Bolt! Whereas at the same time, if an old creature comes back into standard, most of the time people are going to be like, who cares? These power creatures hell right now. That's telling right there. And so, you got this concept right here. You got it right in front of you. You can see it. Counter creep. Whenever something is overpowered, it must be, or whenever something is countered, it must be overpowered. That's a truth. If something is balanced, yet is being countered, it must be overpowered to fight that counter. Okay? So, now take this back to League of Legends. Again, Riot is trying to balance health out by adding percent health counters. This is only creating the situation of haves and haves not. The haves have percent health damage on their kit. They have easy access to percent health damage through items, maybe. The have-nots don't, and they're getting screwed that way. The have-nots are people like LeBlanc, even after they get even after health counter items are released, they won't be good for her, so she won't use them, and that's a problem right there. And you're also getting a situation where everybody must have health damage, okay? If everybody must have health damage, how is it balanced? How is How is percent health damage balanced if everybody needs to have it? That's not a good concept. You're just saying everybody needs this counter or else it's going to be overpowered. I think that's really bad for the game. I think it's really, really bad for everything, okay? And I think Riot really needs to look back. They need to take a hard look at their game and say, okay, we need to start taking out some of these percent health damage modifiers. And in addition, we'll reduce health to compensate them. Look at a game like Dota. Dota has the same concept of health stacking, but instead of having percent health damage, they don't have percent health damage. Is health overpowered in Dota? No. How can that be possible? They don't have percent health damage, how can health be balanced? Because they never made health overpowered to fight percent health damage. And so there you go. That's the video of the day on why you don't add counters to something that isn't overpowered.